So, about 2 weeks ago, I made and delivered a bench, and my girlfriend crocheted a bouquet of flowers. And besides us being super bad at setting up cameras, another question might be, why did we even do this? Well, to me, and probably also to you, friends and family is what life is all about. There are many ways of showing your appreciation, and this time I decided to show it by making an outdoor bench for my grandparents. It all started about a month ago when my granddad came and visited my girlfriend and I, since he was going to the hospital near the place we live. He had these 2 boards in his car and told us that him and grandma got them as an anniversary gift from the staff at the retirement center they had all the way back since 1970. The idea behind these boards were that they could turn them into a bench, but they never got to do so. So here, almost 30 years later, he gave them to me and told me that I could just do whatever I wanted with them, since they would be too small for a bench and he had no use of them. I immediately knew that I wanted to fulfill the intentions behind the 2 boards, so I started by going to the local sawmill and picked up a 3-meter long board that I cut into length out there, since I don't really have room for a 3-meter long board in my car. You will also see that later. When I got home, I set up a workstation outside, as I knew that this would be a real messy task, and I started sanding, and even with a belt sander and an aggressive belt, I still ended up sanding for hours. After sanding, I removed the bark since it would fall off eventually anyway. Might even cause more harm than good if I let it stay. So I picked up an old chisel, some wire brushes for both my angle grinder and my drill, and then I got it close to perfect. Something I really like about the bark on the large tree is that it has this pretty red color. After removing the bark, I sanded the edges with a foam pad on my orbital sander, starting with some aggressive pads, and then later I finished off with some softer pads. For the legs, I have these old 5x5 beams that I split in half on my new bandsaw that I really love, and now I see that I should have invested in that a long time ago. Anyway, I looked for the most square side so I would have the best reference while cutting and later planing.
What'd you give me the face for, dude? It's me!
Then I cut off the ends and made some big cuts for some big dado joints. And I don't have any dado stacks, so repeating cuts is the way to go here. I had to do this for 4 pieces, and you'll see why in a bit. But first, I had to remove and tidy up the saw marks with a chisel. Here's a rough shape of the leg. I measured a rough height for the legs and then I cut it on the bandsaw, but instead of showing it to you, I thought it was better to show you how I cut the bench slab into length instead. And if you think that I need to buy a new anti-splitter strip for my track saw track, then I totally agree. One of my tracks doesn't even have it anymore, but it's one of those things where I just keep procrastinating. And actually I have no idea why, but I guess I'll just wait by it until next week, maybe. I needed to drill some holes in the legs to recess the screws and later plug them, but I'm not sure if my brain were present at the time of drilling, and maybe you can spot the mistake I made.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
You said you could do it and you fucked it up.
I got this weird brain where I'm dumb as a stump.
Well, maybe we can do better this time.
Yup, I drilled all the way through the bore, so I needed to plug those holes before continuing.
We did it! We actually did it!
After putting the leg together, I cut the leg into the desired length and then I put it on the table saw to make some lap joints. Once again, I had to practice my chisel skills before turning into a Bollywood Hulk edition.
And Hulk. Smash.
very important step in sanding is listening to music. Stay happy by dancing, using the force, and clapping when you're finally done. This will, with absolutely zero scientific proof, improve your sanding quality and speed by 10%. There were a few holes, cracks and whatnots in the board, and I decided to try out some wax for the glue gun. I even got a bit carried away about the wax, so I started putting it everywhere. And maybe you can spot some of the places throughout the remaining part of the video where it shouldn't be. Anyway, I removed the wax with chisels, scrapers and my orbital sander. Then it was time for finishing the board with some exterior oil that might be a bit too old, or may have been exposed to degrees below the freezing point. So before spraying, I had to separate the skin of the oil. And while practicing my chopstick ninja skills is pretty neat, I found that a colander sped up the process.
Oh my god! Stop.
And with some help from my girlfriend, I had to do even less work. A bit of cleaning up, then outside to spray, and even with our workshop cooking skills, we didn't remove enough of the skin from the oil, so it resulted in a lot of splatters going through the gun and onto the board. That meant that I had to run over the board over and over again with the rag to remove the splatter before it sat. But in the end, it turned out amazing anyway, so no problem. Back when I bought the house here, there was this bench made out of old telephone poles, and it had this stainless steel backrest bracket that I salvaged, and now I can use it on this bench instead. I just need to drill some new holes and then straighten out the bit where the backrest were, and I did this using my wires and a lot of elbow grease. Then it was time to put some attention to the boards from my granddad. There were some holes from earlier, some rough sanded edges and a few cracks here and there. So I put a bit of time into that. Sadly, the wax excitement took over and I put wax everywhere. One of the places I really regret putting it is around the plugs that I made to fill the holes. It just didn't look good in my opinion, but I decided to leave it like that since I could just turn one of the boards around and the other one had the writing on it, so it kinda matched together, but yeah, I decided to leave it like that. I gave it the same exterior oil as I used on the big board and then I let it dry for some days. Then I assembled the legs and I didn't have enough of the 5x5, which is the reason why I decided to use some regular pressure treated wood instead. This turned out plenty strong and stable, so no worries. Then measuring where the legs go, pre-drill some holes for the hexagon head wood screws, and here we call them fransk skruer, French screws, but I don't know what you call them, and to be honest I actually have no idea what they're called in English. Please help me.
Help me!
I made sure to use outdoor rated screws and spacers, and as you see, pretty stable. Then I tested the comfort of the bench in a few different ways.
What's on your mind?
Before disassembling all of it again to prepare for some stained exterior oil. After staining the legs, I let them dry for a day or two before reassembling them again.
So you are trespassing. Do you have any comments?
Then, after a world-class interview, I realized that I forgot to plug some of the screws. So I went ahead and did that. Glued it in, let it dry, came back later, trimmed the plugs and finished staining. To protect the feet, I had some rubber mat left over that I cut into size and pinned in place with some U-shaped nails from a nailer, and I used a hammer because the nailer and compressor were inside and I didn't really feel like going inside and pick it up. Then it was time to put the backrest on. So with a piece of scrap wood I found the height of the mounting place. And then I sprayed the brackets off camera, got everything put together. Quick look at the result before disassembling yet again to fit it into my car and drive off to my grandparents' place to reassemble it for the last time. We arranged the delivery with my mom so she could make sure that they were not home at the time of our arrival, so we could put the bench together as a surprise before they got home, and I must admit that I got more and more excited as the time went by. I will be a bit distant in the upcoming time as I have a pretty tight schedule, so don't worry, I will be back, but it might take a while before you will see the next big project. Maybe you'll see some quick and easy projects from time to time, but I promise I have some great stuff waiting in the future. when they got home, neither my grandma or my granddad actually noticed the bench, since they both walked in via the back door. And then I had to kind of improvise, and I just started asking questions about this yellow plant outside. And then she finally noticed what I was hinting. She called my granddad, and this is what happened. The feeling of my grandparents seeing this bench and being so thankful about the time and effort we put into making and delivering this bench really made me happy. Since then, I have gotten many pictures, messages, and appraisal about the bench. They told me that their neighbor got a bench and he was super proud of it. And then they got the bench and they put it in the front yard for the neighbor to see that they also got a bench, which I found a bit funny. If this made you just a fraction as happy as I was when delivering the bench to my grandparents, I succeeded. So stay happy. Thanks for watching. Bye.